for the YouTubers. All right. So again, this is what? Parietal bone, temporal bone, occipital bone, frontal bone, nasal bone, maxilla, mandible, zygomatic bone. This whole thing forms zygomatic arch. Since this part of the zygomatic bone is touching the temporal bone, we call this the temporal process of the zygomatic bone. Right here, temporal process of the zygomatic bone. This side, because it's part of the temporal bone touching the zygomatic bone, we call it the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. Okay. All right. So there's here you have your the mental foramen. All right. So you've got your, let's see, ramus. Okay. Coronoid process up here. Angle. Let's see. So from this angle, you can see here supraorbital foramen, infraorbital foramen. You can see a little bit of the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone down there, the middle nasal conchae. Okay, whole thing is in orbit. Remember this area in between eyes, we call this the glabella. Up here, superciliary arch. Down here, supraorbital. So you got those areas there. So just want to make sure you've seen those. Let's look at sutures. Going across the top of the head. You might remember what this suture is called? Frontal or coronal section, all right? Like it's the frontal plane. Now you can kind of see this one along here. Sagittal, right? Like a sagittal plane. Okay. Okay. Separating the parietal temporal bone, you've got the squamosal suture. And back here, separating occipital and parietal, you have the lambdoidal suture. Okay. So just want to make sure you've seen that. All right, so I'm going to put this down for a second and go back and get the models. All right, so here's our bone model. The whole set of circles, whether it's in 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions, that is an osteon. Okay. Center of the osteon, you have your central canals lined by endosteum. All of this is compact bone. Each ring is a lamella. Okay. Inside each lamella, you have these little dots. Those are lacunae, and they're filled with osteocytes, right? These are your mature bone cells. Little lines going off of them are the canaliculi. All right, lining the bone, periosteum. On the inside of the bone, you've got compact bone, on the inside of the bone, you have spongy bone, and that spongy bone's lined with endosteum. Okay. All right, so here's your another bone here. So on the inside, here's your medullary cavity, spongy bone up here. Let's get a better view of that. Spongy bone. Okay. On the outside, you got compact bone lined by periosteum. Remember the ends of the bone? That's your epiphysis. The long shaft of the bone, that's your diaphysis. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and switch it back. Let's see. Let's stop the share. Yeah, we will also